The civil rights movement left upon most Americans and most institutions.
Williams, who at that time was Director of Civil Rights in the Urban Mass Transit Administration.
Well, my administrator came back and he said to me, look, he says, I've been talking to Reverend Moore. And I said, well, I know him by reputation, and I think he's a very fine person. He says, well, I want you to listen to what he has to say. And he advised me also to contact a fellow from Cleveland named Jerry Anderson, whom I knew very well because I'm an ex-Clevelander myself. And I want you to put a conference on. You come back to me in a few weeks and tell me, in a week, and tell me, how do you use this proceeding? Where do you think we ought to have it? What kind of cost factor is going to be involved in it? And tell me who you're going to get to run this out of your shop. Well, I did go back. I came back. I met with Moore. I met with Anderson. I started calling people on the phone all over the country. And my deputy was named Carmen Elizabeth Pauley Turner, later one of the well-known names and one of the beautiful, wonderful alumnus of this great organization.
Harold Williams, who was then the Civil Rights Director in the Urban Mass Transit Administration, talked with Carmen Turner, who was his assistant, and directed her to search transit systems in America and find out, to the extent possible, the number of minorities involved in mass transit. She found very few. Subsequently, these were invited under the auspices of the Urban Mass Transit Administration to meet at Howard University. And in that conference there, Comto was born.
I think when you start with the very first activity we had, it was shock treatment, perhaps. For example, Jerry Anderson ran to the podium in Montreal, Canada, at a meeting of the Transit Authority, of the whole transit organization, and said the previous speaker just made a derogatory remark about blacks in America, and that I am now chairman of the board of the Cleveland Transit System, and if you, the chair of this meeting, do not distance yourself and distract it from it, you will never get a dime from Cleveland Transit System as long as I am the chairman of the board and Carl Stokes is the mayor. Now that's impact.
Well, I think what was significant, we sort of set a pattern of how minorities should be involved in mass transit throughout this country.
We were looked as insurgents, and we were pretty loud and boisterous. One of the great stories about Comto will be how Comto transitioned from purely a protest organization to an organization that ended up involved in research interests, policy interests, and funding interests, and financial interests, and a whole bag of wax which makes the world of not just transit, but transportation as a whole. And this steady change and stream of policies and ideas grew out of our desire and need to be more than just protest, but not to give up on the original idea, but to incorporate and to move so that you get to be a part of the grain of the wood of the whole transit industry. Comto has been blessed with special leadership since 1990. Jackie Davison from Birmingham lifted Comto out of its present tracks and put it into a new orbit. He organized an office, put in some very capable people to run that office. He developed a budget which was not, come by hat budget. He moved in a larger sense to get federal grants to aid transit minorities move forward in transit and that kind of thing. He set representation to and joined officially the other organizations that had come into being as caucuses, women's group, some other groups that had come into being. Those are the things that I think were important. But now, once that organization, he put it in place. He got the people working. He renewed many chapters that had gone out of existence. He came in with the vision issue. What is our vision for the future?
What we need now Since transit has changed tremendously into what you call intelligent transportation, based on the new technologies, you can't operate in the old way. And I am pushing for courses in colleges and universities where there are courses for training people for this field of transportation. You can't do it the old way anymore.
When you think about Comto as an organization, about its being, where it is now, and where it comes from, you can't think about one person, and that person is Reverend Jerry Moore. He not only has been our leader, he not only been our founder, but our spiritual leader as well. He's come to us when we needed him. He provided good counsel, he provided advice, and above all, he provided glue when the organization was coming apart.
But it couldn't have been done without a man like you, because you had organizational skills, and you know how to put an organizational form together, a framework in which the organization could work all over this country.
Comto is alive today because it's a we process.
Yes.
We were all involved, giving it the very best we had.